Welcome back, I'm Tedward, and today, thanks to Bond Group in Waltham, Massachusetts, we're driving this 1956 Porsche 356A Speedster, tastefully modified by the owner, Steve Serio, the guy in charge of Bond Group. So this car, I've always kind of had a thing for it. He drives it to work once in a while, and I can't believe he's putting it on the chopping block. He's done 2 cross-country road trips in it, but now it could be yours on Bring a Trailer for probably a fairly hefty sum of money. It has a Super 90 engine in it. The Super 90, named after its power output, was a little more beefy than the standard engine. And this one, I think it's actually a little hotter than 90. So this is probably making around 110 or 115 horsepower. It has an Abarth pea shooter exhaust, which looks so cool. It's so funny because the car's so small that these tiny little pipes actually are properly fitted. And I think it looks awesome with the beehive taillights because it mimics sort of the quad taillights on those. This stuff, you know, all the details on Speedsters are what sell them. When you start to see the etched in numbers on the bezels and the Hella badge on the shine down light and all this kind of stuff, this is all the things that people look for when they're buying these cars. When they're fully original, they'll look for like the hints of what's left of these numbers and stuff. But this is all a numbers matching car minus the engine, but the original engine is back at the shop. These Rudge wheels came from, I believe, a 1960 356, so not original to the car. And this car was originally white, but once the paint started kind of peeling off, they knew it was time for a repaint, and Steve decided slate gray is the move, and they never made any slate gray Speedsters, and that's why this looks so absurdly good. I think the paint match wheels really do it for me. Up front, we've got these killer Hella fogs, and they look so good with the yellow tint on the lenses. And I'll show you the horn in a minute, but these big old Bosch horns right through here are fantastic, and they're loud. Another thing about these cars, right, you've got the Bosch bezels here. Even these have the Bosch etching in the headlight lenses. So it's all those little things that sort of add up. Inside, finished in this gorgeous sort of red leather. I'm sure there's a more fancy name for it, but I don't know what it is. Either way, this is all really nice stuff. This wheel, although not original to the car, is an original VDO wheel. So this is not some fakey-do, it's the real deal. And that's what I like about Steve, is that he's always kind of searching for stuff. That's his job. He buys and sells cars for billionaires, which means he knows where the goods are. And when it comes to his own cars, he usually doesn't skimp out. He gets the good stuff and he'll tastefully modify, but when he does it period correct. Let's take a look under the hood and under the back because, of course, rear engine, rear wheel drive. Oh, almost forgot. We'll see this when we're driving, but this shift knob is original. All this gorgeous patina, that's 1956, baby. I love it. All right, so one of the things that kind of blows my mind about this car is that Steve drove this car across the country twice, 1998 and 2004. And I've done a cross-country road trip, but I've done it in like a Miata, which, I mean, I guess isn't too much different, but it's a little more modern. Driving across the country in this just seems kind of outrageous. This is not an original fuel tank. They have the original fuel tank. This is an 80-liter fuel tank. And then up here, we've got a spare wheel and tire, toolkit, jack, some of this stuff original, some of it not, but either way, very nice to have. And then around back, we can dig into this engine. Oh, before we even open this, check this out. This is the Porsche Speedster 50th anniversary. So the 50th anniversary of the Speedster in 2004, which is why he drove from Boston to Monterey to show this thing off. And there's our Super 90. Oh, it's gorgeous. I just love these engine bays. They're so accessible and cool. And when anything goes wrong, you just pop them out of the bottom. I mean, seriously, I've seen mechanics do engine swaps on these in a matter of hours. It's kind of hysterical. But anyway, I think a lot of people look at these and say, oh, it's just a Volkswagen. And I assure you, I've driven the Volkswagens from the 50s. This is better. It just is. I mean, look, is it $400,000 better? That's up to you. But I got to tell you, I'd much rather be in this, and I drive this and never, ever feel like it's a Volkswagen. All the stampings down here. So if you're like a Porsche guy and you're trying to figure out like, hey, is this an original engine? These are the engine numbers down here stamped into that. And then you've got some extra little numbers in there. But you know, when you're looking for these cars, you'll start to find little details and figure out, hey, is it original? In fact, there's a 534 stamped in the deck lid to find out that this deck lid is original. When you take these door cards out, these guys, you'll find 534 in the doors on both sides. You start to find it under this deck lid over here, tucked away on that little arm. And, you know, you just start learning to hunt and figure out, like, hey, am I buying the real deal? And this one's great because this is the real deal, but it's been taken care of, and it's a driver, so you don't have to worry about putting some miles on it, using it. Sometimes you buy these cars that are like way too mint, way too original. There's not a ton of original ones left. We have driven one, which was really cool. But, you know, 70 years does some, you know, entropy. Things wear away. So it's really nice when someone's really taking care of something and hot rodded it up just enough so it's extra drivable and special and fun. And gluing us to the road is a 185 section tire on a 15-inch Rudge wheel. It's 4 inches wide. So if people are talking about Rudge wheels, they'll usually talk about the width. Behind it is those drum brakes, so we'll be a little careful. This is not a Will Hoyt. We've driven Speedsters of all kinds, from Emery cars with Polo engines to Will Hoyt engines, all the kind of hotted up things. This one, I think, is a really sweet spot because the Super 90 makes it hot, but not crazy. The brakes are still very functional, and it's beautiful and easy to drive. So let's jump in and I'll show you what it's like to pilot the Speedster, because I just love driving these things. Oh yes, they used to call them the bathtub Porsches, or at least that's what my dad called them. I don't know if anyone else called them that. That's probably a very American thing to say. Oh, and he added this little hella mirror over here, which I genuinely appreciate because, you know, having a little extra visibility in this thing is great. Now, here's the thing. You got a 4-speed manual transmission, reverse is down and up, and, you know, these throws are far. It's a very like whole body experience. Neutral is just kind of all over the place. You can start to feel the gates grab. We've got our key over here on a right-hand ignition. In fact, even this little keychain pocket is special to this car. So get this started up. And that bar exhaust really livens things up a little bit. Sounds pretty gnarly. We can move the seat forward just a bit for me. And then we've got our floor-mounted pedals. We have a lap belt, which is nice. Actually, I guess I wasn't sitting that close before. Our parking brake down here on the right, on the left, sorry, and put that down. Make sure I didn't leave any of my cameras behind. It does have a convertible top, but no like roll-up windows or anything. You got to insert those. There is a sweet spot in the rev range for these cars. You know, it's a little flat pushrod 4-cylinder. So it doesn't like being bogged down, and it doesn't have a very high red line. So you kind of have to just accept that you're going to live within this sort of 2,500 to 4,500 RPM range and do your best to keep it there. If you go a little below it, it's okay, but you're just not going to want to get into that throttle, you know? It's like if I go to 4th and we're going downhill with no load, sure, it can happily sit at $2,000. That's okay. I can apply a little bit of throttle, but we're not going to ask for power. Just a little maintenance throttle. Now there is a level of exposure that you think about when you're driving little cars like this, just because you don't want to be in a situation where you're forced to go up against traffic. It'd be very dangerous to get in an accident in this car. So when you have line of sight, you can boogie. If you don't, you gotta just back off, because even if there's a fella walking a dog around a blind corner, locking this up and spinning it, I mean, it's gonna be expensive, sure, but it's probably gonna kill you. What a car. I just love this thing. It makes me so happy. He really built a good one. I mean, that's what's great about it. You know, you'd think, oh, just 90 horsepower, not crazy situation. Friendly people trying not to kill me or the car. The Super 90 is so grunty. That's what I love about them, is that, like, as you apply throttle, they just growl, they get angrier. And so maybe the car, I mean, this car particularly looks pretty sinister. I always think the Speedsters look pretty sinister, but it's like a, you know, it's a cute little Porsche, but it doesn't have a cute sound. It has like a big barky sound. Oh, and here is that horn I was telling you about. Fantastic. If you knew for a fact that you were out in the middle of nowhere and there was no one around the corners, you can really hammer these things. But around here, occasionally there's a car parked on the side of the road doing a little yard work or, you know, whatever. It's just not worth the risk in a car this valuable and beautiful. We'll take the pothole line on this road. Always very creative. But that's the beauty. I mean, it's a little car, but it's probably a heck of a lot softer than that RS6 in terms of getting over these bumps. You know, I've got some sidewall, I've got a little give in the suspension. Oh no, a turtle. He did not make it. Well, this makes me feel awfully small. How you doing?
Porsche.
Thank you. The most special thing about these cars is the fact that they've just captured and maintained everyone's love and appreciation. Like, this is a car from the 1950s that people still want to buy. There's not a whole lot of cars like that. If you look at the market with, like, let's say American muscle cars, early 2000s was its heyday. People were paying huge money at like Mecum auctions and stuff for those cars, and now nobody really cares. You know, you can get a C3 Corvette big block for reasonable money. They're not in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. These, though, even though they're old and like what you would think was the audience has kind of aged out of the car buying market, no, like younger folks have come and taken the reins and they're like, let's go. We want these things. We want to drive them because they are that good. They are that fun to drive. And they're that important to Porsche's history. So huge thanks to Steve at Bond Group for letting me drive his baby. Thank you guys so much for watching, liking, commenting, and subscribing. Don't forget to respect the drive, and I'll see you in the next one. Hey, we love an Elise. Purple's good.